Alright, what's up UFC Undisputed fans? This is THQ Tank, your official UFC community manager. I'm here with lead senior designer Wes Bunn of UFC Undisputed 3. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Just holding it down at E3, showing the fans.
You guys are holding the fort down.
Yeah.
So hey, we announced on the forums and on Facebook recently that we are going to be asking you, the community, for questions every week that our dev team is going to answer as part of a new weekly series. So here we are at E3. We've got the first set of questions I found right here on my trusty iPhone from Facebook and our forums. We appreciate you asking the questions. So I'm going to go ahead and fire these off to Wes and we'll see what he's got to say. All right, so Wes, first question comes to you from Brandon Martin. I believe this is from our official Facebook page.
Okay.
He says, will it be harder to knock someone out?
You know what? Actually, it will be harder this year. We made some changes. We know that in UFC 2009 and 2010, some of the fans complained about the flash knockouts occurring too frequently. The amount of head damage received was too high. Things like the head kick, the Muay Thai clinch were too powerful. We listened to what you guys had to say, and we've taken that into account and made some adjustments. It's not as easy to knock people out on from the standing position anymore. You can't. It's still possible, but it's a lot harder than it was before, and I think you guys will be pleased.
So is it harder to knock you out this year?
Me, it's very hard to knock me out because I'm gonna take you down and submit you. So.
All right, Brandon, watch out for Wes. All right, next question comes from James Kopags. I hope I said that right. He says, has auto grapple blocking been removed from the ground game?
You know what, I'm very happy to say this is something that we've seen you guys post on the forums. We do read the forums regularly. We try to get as much of your feedback into the game as possible, so your feedback is very, very valuable. We've seen that you guys did not like the grapple block system. The intention for that was to prevent the issue that we had for 2009. So in 2009, you had to manually block when you were in the ground positions, I'm sure you guys know. And that led to a situation where you would punch, block, punch, block. We didn't like the way that felt. So when you got to the ground, we wanted to have a passive grappling block system that would take into effect your stats and auto block for you so that you weren't having to babysit the right stick. It didn't come over as well as we wanted. We tried to make some changes, tried to patch it, tried to make it more in line with what we wanted, but you guys really didn't like it, so we pulled it out. It's gone. It's back to a manual defense. We didn't implement a new system though with the ground strikes, the way the ground strikes works. So your strong strikes on the ground this year, they have the opportunity to interrupt your transitions. So as the bottom fighter, if you're trying to transition and I'm doing strong strikes on you, that's going to interrupt and prevent your transition. So you're not going to have to babysit the stick. You still can block it by manually doing it, but those strong strikes will prevent the transitions from occurring. On the flip side, as the defender, if the opponent on top of you is striking and you block and then immediately transition, your window to get your transition off is going to be increased and make it a lot easier. So this new system feels a lot better, feels more fluid. No need to stick hug, no need for the passive defense. This system just, it works a lot better.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
Yeah,
I think James is going to be pretty happy and the rest of the city. All right, next question comes from Cassidy Alexander Hayes. I think this is another from our official Facebook page. Thank you to all the 500,000 fans out there. He asks, is there now a button or R-stick command that blocks submission attempts?
Yeah, actually it is. It's just going to be the right stick away. The same transition that you use the defense that you use for transition blocking also blocks submission attempts. So you're just going to hold that right stick, that'll block the submission attempt.
Awesome. All right, two more questions here. Lee Novak Ellis, he says, in Pride mode, will fighters like Chuck Liddell have their prime fighter stats, or will it still be current?
You know what? That's actually a good question, and that's something that we're happy to say that they will not. They will not have their original UFC stats. They will have the stats that they had at the time. We've worked with Joe Silva and all the guys at the UFC again this year, made some passes on all the stats, and yes, all the fighters that fought in their Pride heydays will have their Pride stats.
Very cool. And speaking of Pride, Kevin Luzardo, he asked us, will fighters such as Anthony Pettis or Cain Velasquez be able to be used in Pride mode, or will it just be able to use Pride fighters from back in the day?
You know what, that's something that we all wanted to do. We're all hardcore MMA fans. We all want to use the UFC fighters to see how they would do with Pride rule set. So yes, happy to say any UFC roster fighter can be used in Pride mode.
That's huge.
That is huge. It's a lot of fun. How would Brock Lesnar do in Pride with foot stomps and soccer kicks and stuff like that? It's kind of interesting.
That's going to be pretty nuts. All right, final question here. Final question from Jaden Mark Gumabone, or Guma, all right, Guma whatever, sorry.
You're fired.
Yeah, you're fired. I'm fired. Will we be able to take fighters out of their class to see super fights such as Anderson Silva versus GSP?
Well, that's a touchy subject because we work so closely with the UFC. There are some things that we have to stay true to the brand to. Any guy that has fought in different divisions before or had the potential to fight in other divisions, we've included those fighters in those other divisions, so you will be able to set up some of those super fights. We know there's been talk about GSP and Anderson Silva fighting, so we've included GSP in the middleweight division, potentially if they do fight, so you can have that matchup. Some other guys that have moved up and down since then are in the different divisions too, so yeah, you will be able to get some of those super fights on.
Awesome, Liz. All right, one last question here. This is from me personally. So these guys may not know, but we've had 6 pro fighting gamers come and check out UFC Undisputed 3 here at E3 exclusively, including Justin Wong, Combo Fiend, Mike Ross, Kino. Some of these guys, you were in there playing the game with them. In general, what did you feel their reaction was? How do you think they took it?
Very, very positive. I mean, they were all surprised at how deep the game is. I mean, we didn't even go into all the detail here with all the changes that we've made to the striking game. We've made a lot of changes to the striking game, a lot of changes to the ground game, and the submission is all new. It's all new. So when we demoed to these guys, they were just blown away about how deep it is, how complex it was. But they dug it. They really dug it. They also dug the new feature that we added this year. We've added a competition spec. So you can set the competition spec on, and it will remove all random elements in the game. So no more flash knockouts, no more doctor stoppages. It's going to be a lot more competitive, a lot more fair for the players that want to play that. We'll also have the default setting so that you have that random chance if you catch the opponent with the major counter at the right time and the right frame of the animation, you'll still get that flash knockout with a small percentage. So yeah, they loved it. They loved the leg kick TKOs too. They thought that was cool.
You're touching every part of this game. You know every last little detail. It's awesome. You know it inside out.
I've been on this game since 2006. I was on 2009, 2010. Now I'm a huge MMA fan. This is my dream game, and UFC 3 is the best MMA game today, period.
Awesome, man. Well, UFC 3 is coming next year, and this is our first Dev Q&A. It's certainly not our last. We'll be back again next week with Wes, taking more of your questions.
Please,
We'd like to thank
any
you.
questions you guys have, bring them on. I'll be happy to answer them.
That's right, bring it. All right, we'll see you next time, guys. Take it easy. Thank you.